Before proceeding, be warned that there are major spoiler warnings for Deltarune Chapter 4, as well as slight spoiler warnings for Chapter 5 and Deltarune's Weird Route. If you still like to proceed, then let's begin. Before we start, I want to preface this by saying that this is just a theory, and I am primarily analyzing information we've already witnessed and been given before. So with that being said, please be sure to have an open mind while listening, and let's begin. Hi, I'm Uni, and while everyone else is discussing the night, I want to talk about another figure that we've been completely ignoring for the time being. The Angel. See, the Angel is an important figure, not just to us and the prophecy, but to the world of Deltarune as a whole. We hear often of the Angel primarily in Hometown. Alvin, the pastor, talks about the Angel more akin to a god rather than stereotypical angels, that they have this almighty power. In Chapter 1, Alvin notices Chris is quieter than usual and hopes that the Angel's power can aid them in their struggles. In Chapter 2, talking to Alvin again prompts him to talk about how Alphys replaced Gerson as a school teacher and prays that the Angel smiles upon her. In Chapter 4, during the church service, Caddy loosely mentions the Angel that watches over them and has this super cool prophecy. When talking to Alvin again during Chapter 4, he suggests to Chris to look at the Angel for guidance. When prompting his other dialogue options, he states that the Angel has set Asgore on a difficult path. And in Chapter 5, Alvin mentions that the disarray of the church's main hall and the missing objects were surely due to the Angel. There was one other notable mention of the Angel in Hometown though. Inside of the hospital, inside of Rudy Holiday's room. See, inside of the hospital room, there's an angel on the desk, and interacting with it brings up this prompt. It's an angel doll. Its lack of facial features is unsettling.
That angel? Noelle and Des made it in youth group. It's kinda like a good luck charm to me now. Oh, right. You and Azzy tried to make one too. But you wasted the whole time making huge wings for it.
That about covers the mentions in the light world, but there are still some mentions of the Angel, although few in the dark world. The most notable mention is from Rouse, and the prophecy where they both repeat that the Angel banished will finally meet with its desire. There's also a key detail when they view that prophecy, where Susie asks Rouse, "Hey, below the words, that picture, what the hell is that supposed to be?" That's the Angel, Susie. What, to my understanding, it actually looks like.
I don't know about that. Man.
So I want to come back to this dialogue a little bit later. But for now, just keep it in the back of your mind. Now, the most recent mention of the Angel has actually been from Task Manager in Chapter 5, where they refer to the Angel as Master of Order and Chaos. Later in that same dialogue, they also tell Chris directly to pray to the Angel. I wanted to point out that they said directly because they're speaking to Chris here and not just the soul. Alright, that's a lot of mentions to unpack, but we'll tackle each of them in due time. In the meantime, I want to talk about Noelle. See, Noelle has been an extremely important character for a multitude of reasons, of which the most important is the Weird Route, of course. However, more recently, she started to gain some more attention as people were starting to place her as the Angel from the prophecy. And by recently, I mean Chapter 2, of course. Now, there's tons of evidence to this, so I do want to go through some of them to help understand where these theories are coming from. First of which is during Chapter 2, where not only is Noelle wearing an all-white, seemingly angelic robe, but she's also being made out as a sort of pure or important being. I mean, you can even see near the end of the chapter when Queen most literally crucifies her. One other important fact about this is that the Addison who sells the freeze ring to Noelle during the Weird Route refers directly to her as an angel. They specifically state,
Come on, Angel. You can't get stronger without good equipment.
after this encounter, you also have a key character, Spamton, mentioning the angel while Noelle is in your party in the weird route. He states,
Angel. Angel. Are you looking for the Ring of Thorns?
later on, in Chapter 4, while investigating through Noelle's house, you can interact with the wardrobe in her room, in which she has small, worn, and tattered angel wings. She then proceeds to reminisce about how she dressed as the angel for the holiday pageant, and admitted her fondness of the wings. All of these things point to Noelle being the angel talked about in the prophecy. However, these are kind of out in the open for you to find. It feels too easy, you know? Despite all of these instances pointing towards Noelle being the angel, I actually think they do the opposite, and either point to her as one of the angels or not being the angel from the prophecy at all. To refute this, I wanted to point out that I believe whoever the angel is would most likely have the power to rival the knight, or power similar to the knight. Which we just don't see from Noelle's abilities. I also believe that the angel is most likely revered as a god to darkeners and or lighteners, as they are worshipped in both worlds. But from how the Addison and Spamton spoke to Noelle, it's almost like they're either trying to force the role of angel upon her, or simply use angel when referring to her because of her purity. After hearing all of this, I now want to suggest a question to you. Could the angel be Azrael? Now, hold on. I need you to have an open mind when considering this possibility, especially when we haven't even seen Azrael yet. See, I believe Azrael to be the angel, or at least one of the angels. And I want to get back to that topic in a second, but first, I want to go over why I believe Azrael could be the angel. For this to work, I want to take a look back at Undertale, and more specifically, Azrael's design. Azrael, during the true pacifist route, ends up becoming the god of hyperdeath. He accomplishes this by absorbing every soul in the underground. Looking at him normally, he still looks like a normal monster, taking after Asgore and Toriel in his design, with white fur and wearing a black robe with the Deltarune on it, a heart locket, his horns, and black eyes with black markings on his cheeks. However, during his final form, Azrael takes on a more geometric shape. His horns become longer, and his claws and teeth get sharper. He gets huge wings that constantly change color, and his body becomes more in the shape of a heart. This is the final boss of Undertale. However, despite this being an Undertale, there are obvious references to it constantly in Deltarune. The first nod to it is when looking at Azrael's computer at the Dreamer household, and you see a poorly drawn design for a game. And the final boss is a creature with giant rainbow wings. See, now while this is a kind of direct reference, not so more as a lore point, there's also the thing that I mentioned earlier. See, when visiting Rudy Holiday in the hospital, he notably says,
Oh, right. You and Azzy tried to make one too, but you wasted the whole time making huge wings for it.
sound familiar? Trying to make an angel with huge wings? I wanted to call it out because looking back at when Susie and Rouse were discussing how the angel looked, it's very clear that the angel doesn't look anything like an angel. It could look something completely the opposite. Something like, I don't know, God of Hyperdeath Azrael. I mean, there's even a comment that gets made when Chris, not us because we can't see it, looks at the tapestry back in chapter 4 and feels strange and chooses not to comment on it. Hey, Uni here from the editing. Looking back, actually, this strange feeling could be because it resembles the angel that Chris and Azrael made way back when. Alright, back to the video. Another thing that makes me want to believe it could be Azrael is because Task Manager refers to the angel as the master of order and chaos. Now for this one, I don't have any real proof, as I don't have any direct connection with the title other than a feeling that it's referring to something a little less pure than what Noelle is being made to seem like, and the typical image that they get when they hear angel. As for how Azriel's role in the story will even be brought up, we know at the very beginning of Deltarune that Toriel told us that Azriel was coming back in 1 week. 1 week is 7 days, and we know that each Deltarune chapter is a single day going by. You start by waking up and end off each chapter going back home. This should mean sometime during chapter 7, or even possibly the end of chapter 6, Azriel will be introduced into the story, at least physically in the light world. From a narrative standpoint, it makes a lot of sense too from how the angel has been mentioned. Azriel and the angel have been mentioned in similar importance, where they are more like a passing thought rather than a main character in the story, while still holding some symbol of importance. They are constantly haunting the narrative without actually being present. Almost similar to Gaster. Almost. When thinking about theories on the night, you kinda think it has to be Carol, Rudy, or Des, as you need it to be someone that's constantly relevant in the story, with a motive as to how and why they would be the knight, in a way that's satisfactory where you can think, oh yeah, looking back that makes sense. However, with the angel and similarly Azriel, neither one has had too much of a present impact in the narrative. Azriel being the angel wouldn't feel out of place because there's nothing the angel has done or that we've been able to visibly see or we can pinpoint it to anything that has happened so far within the story. The exact same way, we've constantly been hearing about Azriel, but haven't been able to visibly see him or have any of his actions noticeably affect the story. However, their name and presence lingers from their previous presence in the past. It makes you think that if Azriel is actually revealed to be the angel, whether knowingly or unknowingly, it just makes sense, and it wouldn't feel too out of place. Alright, speaking of out of place, I'm sure at least somebody has been waiting for it. Toothpaste Boy. I mean, Rouse. See, Rouse has been an anomaly from the very beginning. While he is the Prince of Darkness as stated by the prophecy, all we really know about where he came from is that he, unlike other Darkners, is a being of pure darkness, and was born from the Grand Fountain. What's interesting about this is that the Grand Fountain too is made of pure darkness, unlike other dark fountains created by other Lightners. You know what else is made from pure darkness? The Titans. Rouse has always been connected to the existence of the Titans, as both are beings made of pure darkness. However, something makes Rouse different from the Titans, which from what we know right now is just a conscience. But how he has one or what the difference is about their creation is still currently unknown. What we do know is that he has some higher understanding or power over the dark world, as he can fast travel, or close to it, between each dark world that we end up visiting, no matter how far. He also has knowledge that he was just born with and didn't ask to have about the prophecy. Rouse already knows the ending, but what's interesting is while he knows everything about the prophecy, he doesn't know everything about the dark worlds. See, in chapter 5, while going through Asgore's notes, Rouse is clearly left bewildered by the fact that there were other fountains from ages ago. This means, despite his seemingly endless knowledge, that managed to slip past him. My assumption is that he doesn't know anything from before his own birth, and most likely doesn't know the creator of the Grand Fountain. It really makes you wonder if another Grand Fountain could be created different than the other fountains, and what would make it so special, as, you know, what makes Rouse so special. Whew, alright, with the questions now placed in everyone's head, this is the part of the video where I don't want you to take it too seriously, but still give it some consideration. We all know that Deltarune and Undertale have had a common theme of copies. Specifically, we know that copies are monochrome. But I wonder, at what point is something not a copy and rather a part of a bigger whole? See, one thing I've always wanted to touch on is how, throughout the chapters, we've been occasionally introduced to a new form of Darkner. There's your regular Darkner, which we know are objects that get animated when entering a dark world, like Lancer. Then there's beings made of pure darkness, such as the Titans. There's also Gerson, who was a lightener who died then became a darkener. And during chapter 5, we've actually been introduced to 2 different types. First is the flowers, which are unique because they're darkeners with what I can only consider a hint of lightener determination, because as flowers they are alive in the light world, so not really darkeners but rather lighteners. Then there's Pink, who is a darkener but also has a lightener possessing their body, like a lightener-darkener hybrid. All this to basically say that I wonder what the type of darkener we'll see next could be. It could be a split soul type of dynamic. This isn't a theory I've done much research on, but rather it caught my attention, so I wanted to include it to cover all the bases, you know. Within the hospital, you can go to the room on the right of Rudy Holiday, where you can interact with a sink. Yes, a sink. This is the sink theory. Anyway, interacting with the first thing on the left, it says, it's a sink. Who would have thought? The interesting part is that when you interact with the other sink, it says something a little interesting. While it could just be meaningless dialogue to distract the community, I feel as if it's interesting enough to point out regardless. It goes on to say, it's a clone of the other sink. Perhaps there was originally one tall sink that was cut in half to create both of them. Again, nothing too crazy, but interesting enough to where I wanted to point it out. I also think it would be pretty funny if Azrael somehow found a way to split his soul into Rouse without the memories while he's off at college. Kind of like a Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint 4951 situation. Whew, alright, I've mentioned it twice now, so I'm sure some people are curious as to why I kept saying one of the angels. This ties back in with Undertale actually, and is more of a speculation for a possibility of where the story could go, rather than its own actual, concrete theory. See, in Undertale, there were actually 2 prophecies people believed. The first was the angel freeing them from the underground by destroying the barrier. The second was that of the angel of death freeing them by killing them all and freeing them from their mortality. See, the presence of a second angel in the prophecy has always been present in Undertale, especially with its many different routes you could play of the game. See, you chose which prophecy of the angel was turned into reality. What's interesting though is I don't actually think the human, or Frisk, was the angel. I believe Azrael was always supposed to be the angel in that regard, and through our help, he fulfilled his role by freeing everyone from the underground in the true pacifist route. While in the genocide route, we still aren't the angel, but instead it's Kara. See, Kara ends up becoming the angel of death by cleaving the world of Undertale and erasing the game. I believe something similar here will happen, where there could be more than one instance of the prophecy, and more specifically, that what the Lightners and Darkners believe in is the same, yet different. I believe this prophecy has been retold many times, such as in Lord of the Hammer and Dragon Blazers. But the main difference is that small aspects will always change the more it is retold. What if the Dark World and what Rouse knows is the original prophecy, where the Angel's Heaven and anything associating with the end of the prophecy just leads to destruction each time? That would explain his dialogue between him and Flowery in the most recent chapter, about a fate that Flowery is trying to escape and Rouse being too idle and only praying instead of trying to change it himself. This would explain why Susie, assuming the end of the prophecy leads to destruction of something either way, would mention her, Rouse, and Chris when she talks about not letting that happen. Not because either one of them might die, but because they are the 3 heroes, at least she believes so, and will prevent destruction even if it is the end of the prophecy. You may wonder then, how will the worlds be saved if it all leads to destruction? Well, like in Undertale, the Angel of Death would free them, and in the genocide route that is still technically freedom, it saved them of their suffering in the underground. While the Darkners know this is truth, and I mentioned Darkners, not just Rouse, because Task Manager refers to the Angel as Master of Order and Chaos, the Lightners probably understand a different prophecy, where it has been retold and affected so differently that they have full faith in the Angel to save them. And most Lightners don't even have knowledge of Dark Worlds in general, despite it being literally part of the beginning of the prophecy. While there might not be actually 2 angels, it could be the case where there are 2 different depictions of the same angel. But what I am 100% sure about is that the Lightners and Darkners differ on their versions of the prophecy. And so matching the information for both for a whole truth will be extremely difficult to tell what's right and wrong. This is especially the case in the night, which we know is fulfilling the prophecy from the dark world to a T. But then it leaves you with so many questions to think about. I mean, how did they get that information? Where did the prophecy originate? And if the angels are different, then what exactly is the Deltarune? Hi. It's Uni, of course. I never really did an outro or considered them for my videos, but I want to say that I appreciate the crazy growth and viewership on the last few videos, and I hope you guys enjoy this one as well. I want to know if there are any other like theories that you guys want me to talk about or maybe investigate further, as I love making videos on this, and it could be about other games too. I want to enjoy and see what other people like talking about. I know I want to do a video on Silk Song once that DLC comes out, as well as the Nier Automata sequel. So yeah, like, subscribe, and yeah, just let me know what you guys would like to see next. Thank you so much for being so supportive. Also, I got a new mic, if you couldn't tell, so I hope you guys like it. And if there's anything wrong with it, just let me know.